G'day, welcome back to the channel. Oh, you're here for the first time. Well, welcome. My name's Stuart, and in this video I'm going to be talking about the most sustainable fish that we can farm on this farm that we're trying to buy, the farm that we're trying to raise the capital for at the moment, and that I'm hoping that some of you guys will help with. But anyway, what's the most sustainable fish? Well, believe it or not, it's goldfish. I know, a goldfish. Yeah, I know. Who would have thought? Because it's not a fish, obviously, that you eat. So how can goldfish, which is a pet fish, be more sustainable to grow than trout, which is a food fish? And in the previous video, I spoke about why we are going to be producing trout, and a few of you were asking about, well, why are you producing trout instead of an omnivorous species, or even better, a herbivorous species? And it's because the economics don't stack up for those species. And that's something that's about sustainability in general. You don't choose the option that has the smallest environmental footprint, you choose the option that is practical, most practical, best on balance. And to make that judgment, you've got to consider the broader context in which the decision is being made. And in this case, the broader context is outside of the farm. Up until the millennial drought, this farm used to produce around 4 million fish per year. From those heydays, the pre-millennial drought, to before the pandemic, production here had declined from somewhere between 1.5 and 2 million fish per year. And that decline had happened because of the millennial drought. Not that the millennial drought affected this property in terms of its water availability, but it affected the availability of water for all its customers, because all you guys out there who like having goldfish in your ponds, you couldn't have water in your ponds during the millennial drought because of all the water restrictions. Now, about a year before the pandemic, the current owner said, yeah, that's it, I've had enough, I want out, I don't want to be mucking around selling a business, I'm just going to sell a piece of land and I want to get out of here. There was a couple of things that happened in the aquarium industry that I think are what precipitated that decision. That's a topic for private discussions, or maybe another video at some point in the future. But regardless, he said he had enough and he wanted to sell the farm, as a piece of land, not as a business. The aquarium industry had just started reacting to this massive hole in their supply when the pandemic came in. And that really messed things up for them, as it did for everyone else. But it really messed things up for them because the way they had been plugging that hole in supply was they were importing goldfish from overseas, flying them in. So if we can get the farm and we start ramping up production, we can have a major impact on reducing the environmental footprint of the industry, because now that the borders are opening up, all the aquarium wholesalers are bringing in fish from overseas. Bad enough the environmental footprint that we have when we import food via air freight. But one, these are pets, and two, they're alive, which means you've got to freight them with water. So the environmental footprint from bringing these fish in from overseas is pretty substantial. And if we take this farm on, ramp up goldfish production, we can eliminate that environmental footprint. And as I said in previous videos, it's all well and good to do nice things for the environment, but unless it makes money, it's not sustainable. In fact, it doesn't have to just make a profit, it's got to make a good profit, otherwise it's not going to be attractive for people to invest in if they change what they're doing. And so you've got to have the money there as the carrot to stimulate that change, or stimulate and sustain that change. So here I want to talk about some hypotheticals. Prior to the pandemic, this farm producing 1.5 to 2 million fish per year, average fish price was 60 to 70 cents each. Oh, sorry, that's not hypothetical. That's some of the limit based on the limited data I've got. That's what they were selling the fish for wholesale. Here's the hypothetical bit. We ramp production up from what it is, 100,000 fish, per year, and let's take it up to 500,000 or even 1 million fish per year. Let's assume that the sale price for the fish is 50 cents each, because that's pretty conservative, because especially when we get started, the price per fish is going to be higher than it was before the pandemic. during the pandemic, the price for goldfish was averaging over $2.50 each. So, you know, 50 cents is a really conservative figure. So if we've got producing 500,000 fish, that's an increase in revenue of around 250,000. If it's 1 million fish, that's an increase in revenue of 500,000. At this stage, I don't have data to work out what the cost of production of goldfish is, but the cost of production for the trout gave us once we're up and running, gave us close to a 50% margin. So, for hypothetical thought experiment, let's assume that the cost of production for the goldfish is working on a 25% margin. That would mean, with an extra, if we're producing 500,000 fish, that would give us an extra, well, it's a quarter of 250,000. It's 62,500 profit. That would make that's a lot of extra fat in the cash flow, especially because it comes about with it's no capital expenditure we have to do that. It's just some operating expenditure. If it's 1 million fish, well, that's like 120, that's $125,000 in extra profit. Now, the potential of adding that extra fat into the cash flow really could mean that the goldfish production could kind of fund the conversion to the trout production, rather not so much the conversion of the trout production, the addition of the trout production alongside the goldfish production. Because remember, there's enough infrastructure on this farm to produce 4 million goldfish per year. So if we're going to ramp it up back up to, you know, 1 million fish per year, we're probably only going to use about 25% of the infrastructure. Now that might not hold true, but let's assume we're only using 50% of the infrastructure. That leaves 50% of the infrastructure vacant for our conversion to trout production, plus the addition of the horticultural crops that we want to put alongside those things as well. Now, I've already done a business plan for this property based on trout alone, and the numbers stacked up for the trout alone. It's going to be that much better with the goldfish alongside. And that raises the possibility that instead of having to raise the total, you know, 4.5 million that we need to get this off the ground, it could be substantially less. Now, I've played around with the figures a little bit more using this example I just gave you then, and it's looking like we can get the total amount of capital we need under 4 million, possibly even under 3.75 million. And since the model includes the price of the land being 3 million, $200,000 for legals and, you know, etc., that means almost all the money that we're raising to get this operation started is going towards a physical capital asset, which means the amount of money that is potentially at risk here from the point of view of the investors, it's pretty small. Now that's, I might have already gone, that's getting very close to the line of what I'm allowed to talk about. So a lot of that, remember, the price of the goldfish, the volumes we're producing, the revenue we get from them, the margin, that's all hypothetical. Conservative hypothetical though, but it is all hypothetical. But imagine if it's kind of true. What does that mean for what we could do with this property? So, I would hope that those of you who've been following along for a little while, that might be enough to get you to express an interest, in which case I can start talking more detail. The key to people being convinced that this is a worthy investment is really about them getting to know me. The way I think, the way I present things, the way I analyze things, the way I talk about things. There's a whole stack of information that you're not going to get on these videos because, well, legally I'm not allowed to put that sort of information for public broadcast. It's got to be done on people who are actively pursuing me for the information. I can't just spread it out there. Ultimately, it comes down to people investing in this project, or really any other project. It's about the trust that you have in the operators. Because it doesn't matter how good the opportunity is if you can't trust the people that are doing it. And when I say trust, I'm not just talking about ethically, morally, and all that stuff. I'm talking about, you know, trusting them that they have the skills and the ability to be able to do what they say. You're only going to get that by talking to me. So if you are on the fence about expressing your interest, give us a ring, give us a call, send us an email, ask your detailed questions, we'll thrash it out. Or if, like yourself there, you're here for the first time, probably, go check out the other videos and stuff I've done, and go from there. But in the meantime, I am working as hard as I can to try and find more people to support what we're doing. I have made an offer to the current owner of the farm that I will go down there and start helping him prepare for this season's spawning, like just working alongside him, volunteering my labour, because the more I can understand the idiosyncrasies of the operation, the better. I've engaged a consultant who knows aquarium fish. He's assured me, and that wasn't cheap, by the way, and he's assured me that given my background and my understanding of fish in general, I will have no problems with goldfish. And I said to him specifically, yes, but knowing how to do something, being able to do something is very different to being able to make money doing something. And he said, yes, but once you learn the specifics of the farm that you're going to be working on, once you got that, enough with my help, means I've got to keep paying him, which is fine. His knowledge is valuable. I've got some excellent information off him already. With his help, he's assured me that I will have no problems making enough money to keep paying him. That's my paraphrase of it. But seriously, I don't see how it could be otherwise. Really, given that hypothetical scenario we went through, we're going to make some real money from this, while at the same time doing some environmental good stuff, and then adding all the extra stuff that we'll do by adding in the trout production, the horticultural crops, making the farm a zero nutrient pollution fish farm, and showing the current industry in Victoria that there is a path to expansion, and showing the Tasmanian industry that they don't have to keep polluting the environment the way they are. And we will either make change by having people copy us, or we will make change because as we demonstrate that we make money and make good money, we'll have more people offering us access to their capital so we can expand our own operations. So anyway, catch you later. Stay tuned for the next video. If you don't want, they'll be doing more of these obviously, so if you don't want to miss it, make sure you hit the subscribe button. Now a lot of you have been private messaging me questions, and that's great. I really appreciate that. Don't mind answering questions at all. But if you've got a question, it's better that you put it in the comments. Whereas if you want to express your interest and then a more detailed response because you're expressing your interest, obviously that has to be private. But you asking questions in the public comments will help us develop the project. And that will help us to find more people to make this thing happen. Because the only way it's going to happen, my own financial resources aren't enough to do this by myself. I wish they were, because then I could just do it. So we've got to find the people like yourselves, like others, who will help us come on board and make it happen. So, catch you later. Bye-bye.